Hello and welcome. I am Karen Armstrong. I'm going to take you through a quick introduction to behavioural economics. We have designed this outline to assist in all journey mapping processes so that when you're thinking about designing new supported journeys, you'll be able to look at the behavioural economics nudges that we talk about through this presentation and be able to apply those to your journeys. So thank you very much for joining the More Strategic team and being part of a future workshop. So we do hope that you will find this very useful. So today I'm going to take you through a little bit around what behavioural economics is. And so it's a really simple concept. So Kahneman has kind of framed this phrase around thinking fast and thinking slow. So we know that if we ask the question of what is 1 + 1, we know straight away that that is 2. If we move on to the next question of what is 17 times 24, it takes us a lot longer to work out that that's 408. So that's really the example of system 1 versus system 2 thinking. So system 1 is 1 + 1, system 2 is 17 times 24. And we think about this because actually behavioural economics is really leveraging that automatic, fast processing of information, quick decisions that occurs with system 1. So it's really easy to think about these. These are like thousands of decisions that you're making every day that are automatic, that you just make without thinking. So this is really what behavioural economics is really built on, the fundamentals of actually we are far less rational than we like to present ourselves to be. So system 1 is those fast, unconscious, automatic, everyday decisions. And what's really interesting about them is that they tend to be error prone. Or a very nice summary of it means that we tend to be predictably irrational. So I'm going to talk you through really some of the top nudges. So the top nudges that we have is I've taken from Sunstein, who's a very well authored academic in this area, and he has really looked at, well, what are the top nudges that are delivering results? And so I've kind of shrunk these down a little bit into 8, and I'll quickly talk you through what those are, and we will obviously spend more time on these in the journey mapping workshop. But first of all, default rules, these are the most effective of all nudges. So if you think about any countries where they have organ donation and those where that's a default opt-in, they have incredibly high opt-in rates, over 90%. If you look at countries where organ donation is a selection, then actually you see really low rates. So actually, by nature, humans tend to default to what we'll go on to, which is what the norms are, so what they would expect or what has already happened. So they'll always go down the easiest path of least resistance. And that really moves us easily into simplification. So if we're thinking about the way that we really want to be driving uptake in any of our activities, simplification is key. So we do need to be thinking about really easy to navigate, intuitive designs, and this allows those easy decisions to occur so that we can move people quickly through the choice architecture. They're making quick, simple decisions. We're using defaults wherever possible, and that helps to make the process and increase uptake. Moving on to the third one is norms. So norms, we know, is really when people believe that what others do is what they're doing. And in this case, we can use the example the Behavioural Insights team UK has pulled together from 2013 when we're looking at gifts in wills. So as soon as you start to ask people about leaving a gift in their will, mostly that's around 7%. As soon as you actually prompt the question, you can double that. And thirdly, you can triple it as soon as you add a norm to that. So if you add into the conversation that many people, just like you, are leaving a gift in their will, then that will actually triple response rate. So creating norms around behaviours can be a very strong nudge. Fourthly, think about convenience. So really making options really easy to participate in and that it's right there, it's easy to get involved and it's very convenient for them. It increases propensity for this to occur. A great example is healthy choices at the start of canteen line. So as soon as you place apples, oranges, etc. at the start of the canteen line rather than at the end, you will see that that actually increases the uptake of choosing a healthy option. Then moving on to SMART, I've really summarised this. So Sunstein talks about disclosure and information of, informing people about the consequences of their past behaviour. So it's very much about thinking about how can we use transparency in the way that we communicate with people. So as an example, if you think about your most recent electricity bills, it will normally show you how much energy you used at the same time last year, how much did you use in last quarter, and how much do other families of your size tend to utilise. And so it gives you really informative information so you can make smart decisions. And then on the flip side of that, we've got warnings. So warnings in particular you can see around cigarette packages, etc., that there's really been a big move towards utilising warnings. So large warnings help to really push towards preferred behaviours, so we can utilise warnings in quite effective ways. The final two also really go hand in hand. So as much as possible, if we can help to drive people towards a pre-commitment and eliciting from them an intent to act, you will actually increase their propensity to act. So even just me asking you this question, are you going to purchase a car this year, will actually increase the likelihood of car purchases. So for all those automobile companies out there, you'll enjoy that one because we've just increased your likelihood of purchasing of an automobile this year. And finally, reminders. So while we've got that pre-commitment and we help people to elicit that intent to act, if we have reminders that nudge people all the way along, that will actually also help that goal intention gap that we tend to see. So again, often we will see people say that they're going to join up for a peer-to-peer fundraiser, they're going to raise the money, and they do register at the start, but they don't go ahead and complete that activity. So how can we provide reminders so that people know what they signed up for and how they continue through that process to achieve great fundraising results? These are a few other favourites that I think are useful for the session. So this is really a great example of how we tend to be predictably irrational. So this is from Dan Ariely. It's a great example of students who are asked to sign up for The Economist. So they were given 3 subscription options in the first version. One of those was to sign up online, one was to get the print subscription, and the final was to get the print and the web. Now you can see in that last option, the option to sign up for print and web is exactly the same price. So clearly on the left-hand side, you can see that no students would actually sign up for a print-only subscription because they can actually have the web subscription for the same price. So in the scenario where you actually offer all 3 and you do have that decoy effect working, you will see 16 students go for the $59 option and 84 go for the $125. But as soon as you actually remove that decoy of the print subscription, so there's no value, so it's also a little bit of an anchor in there, then actually you've got 68 students who then choose to go for just the 1-year online access and 32 students who buy the print and web subscription. So straight away you can see that there's no additional information, but the decoy has actually really nudged people to increase and purchase a higher price subscription. 3 more great ones for fundraising. Priming. Think about the 5 senses. Think about all of those things such as smell, sight, what do they see, what do they hear, and you can utilise this really a lot in any framework. So you can use it to prime around what's the average amount that somebody donates. You can think about it in events when you see the video playing and how you can actually prime people into being very emotional before the ask is given. So that's how we're utilising priming. Anchoring is just as we've described. If you anchor a value amount, and we use this a lot in our direct mail, but if you think about anchors, we can use those really strategically across the board. And then optimism bias. So we tend to value the here and now much more strongly, and that we know as hyperbolic discounting. But on the opposite side of that coin, then we also seem to believe that the future will be so much more positive. And so again, if you think about upgrade questions, you can think about, would you like to upgrade in 2 months' time? And that's much more likely to give you a positive result. So you can think about, how do people think about the future and what makes them more optimistic? And finally, the identifiable victim. This is really a great one because it's specific to the charitable sector. It's really thinking about, how do we communicate our key statistics? And I like to frame this one because it's so often that we fall into needing to give lots of rational messaging around our communication pieces, but actually if we really focus on, in this case, Yeshi, we focus on that identifiable victim, you see that the donation amount goes up significantly, especially when you're not talking about statistics and especially when you're not putting statistics with a victim. So it's really important that we think about, how we responsibly manage individualisation of our messages, and straight away you can think of this. So a single death is a tragedy, a million deaths is a statistic. So I thank you very much for being part of our future workshop, and I hope that gave you a little bit of an overview of some of the behavioural economics nudges you might like to apply to your journey when we see you next. Thanks. See you soon.